Let's have a look at this quick video. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest, Stakeholder Relations Director for the Supreme Committee of Legacy and Delivery at Qatar 2022, Khalid Al-Suwaidi. Great to meet you. Come and take a seat. We want you to feel at home, Khalid, as you're going to try to do with the rest of the world in just over 50 days' time. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you at this event, to talk about this event. It's a World Cup of firsts. How come?
I would like to thank you for being here with me on this beautiful stage. Our days, we've only been 2 days in Seville, but the atmosphere we saw, the energy, the vibe we've been sensing from everyone here in this summit has been fantastic and has been great. So I'm very happy to be here. This World Cup, it is indeed the World Cup first. It's the first World Cup in the Middle East. It's the first World Cup in the Arab world. But yet we're talking about other first, being it's the first tournament being held in a compact nature, like everything very close to each other. It's the first carbon neutral tournament. It's the first tournament that's going to be quite inclusive and accessible compared to the rest of the previous tournaments.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll come back to some of those topics as we go along in this next 40 minutes or so that we've got on stage, Khalid. Let's talk first, though, about football, because this is where the football industry meets at World Football Summit, and we are intensely interested in the sort of 90 minutes on the pitch and all of the matches we've got coming up. And it's always helpful, isn't it, when the host nation performs, does well. How ready are the Qatar national team? Where are expectations set back home?
Well, we're expecting quite a performance from our national team. David, our national team is the reigning champion of Asia. So we won the Asian Football Cup in 2019. Our national team has been putting a lot of good performances recently, playing on international platforms as well, taking part in the Gold Cup and other tournaments. So we've been seeing good football from this team. Now we're quite unlucky with the group we're in, but we believe that our team is going to put in a performance that's going to make us all proud of for years and years to come.
You just want a good lift-off, don't you? I remember the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, and that opening game, and South Africa scored a worldy goal. It was Shabalala with a goal from distance, rocket into the top right. Yeah. Everyone erupted. He's like, okay, we're off and running. Yeah. This is good. So hopefully you'll have a good start. And I suppose one of the reasons that FIFA awarded the tournament to Qatar was to grow the game. And there is always this phrase, grow the game, grow the game. But what about that wider picture in Qatar in terms of the growth of football in the country and in terms of people playing the game?
Well, David, the game has been in Qatar for a long time. The game came to us in the early 40s when the oil and gas workers started coming to Qatar to grow that business. Since then, the game has been quite rooted in the Qatari people. But if we go and look at kind of the institutional foundation and the institutional changes, we see in Doha today a number of football institutes, a number of academies. I can mention one like in the name of Aspire Academy, for example.
Yeah, well known.
That kind of started kind of small and now is on a global level. So the country's direction was to invest in sport. We believed in sport. We believed in the power of sport. Today, Qatar was one of the only country where we do have a national sports day, and then Malaysia followed back last year of having their first sports day. So going in that direction and investing in this sector, as well as kind of winning the bid and the honor to host such a tournament, has been quite a catalyst in the development in that field.
Give me a sense of what's happening in Qatar at the moment. You know, the excitement, the anticipation. As I mentioned, almost 50 days to go. How real does that countdown feel? Is this sort of sense of anticipation? I mean, soon you're into that sort of last phase of ticket sales as well. Is that growing all the time?
David, if I'm talking about by myself, I'm kind of part of the team kind of delivering the tournament. So I'm on my nerves since last year, but the whole country is excited. And like if we speak in numbers, so like what we saw whenever our colleagues in FIFA started kind of selling tickets, we've seen kind of record-breaking numbers of demand for this tournament. So this was quite pleasing. We know that for this tournament, there's just north of 3 million tickets that's going to be available to everyone. We've already sold 2.45 million out of those. But to put a product out there of 3 million tickets and then to receive global demand, more than 40 million that are willing to come and be part of this tournament, means a lot to us, means a lot to everyone who participated and put an effort in the preparation leading up to this tournament.
In terms of setting up this tournament, and you said you've been on tenterhooks for the last year or so, just in the build-up, but I'm sure it must have been much longer in the actual planning. I wonder, how did you engage the community in Qatar so that they could have a say in how you shape this tournament?
Community engagement has been a pillar since we found this organization under the name of the Supreme Committee of Delivery and Legacy. Ensuring that the community is fully engaged with us. We've embarked on a long journey with a number of initiatives as we go. But I can give you kind of a couple of examples where we really see how much we've worked with the community, kind of coming as in a rotation. I'm like haven't seen the results of it. I mean, engaging the community in the cultural and the entertainment sector. We've been working with all community members in building capacities in terms of art and performances, and we've worked with the community members in delivering multiple events and multiple tournaments. FIFA Arab Cup end of last year was a good example where we gave the opportunity to a lot of our local artists to come and participate. And whenever I say local, I don't really mean only Qataris, but all the kind of different cultures and different communities living in Qatar. We have...
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, because it's a really mixed sort of texture of lots of different peoples from a lot of different backgrounds. I guess it's one of those things that people will discover, won't they, when they really get involved with this World Cup. So what is that population made up of?
100%, David. The diversity that we have in Qatar is, there's a lot of beauty in it. It gives you a huge opportunity to provide a cultural offering that's quite global in its sense. We have representations from Asian communities, European communities, African, North African, American, and etc. We do, as an organization, we work in a kind of in an official way with almost 40 communities in terms of kind of having an MOU signed and having official representations from community leaders and stuff. So over 40, but then you also have another number of smaller communities that are not represented officially, but yet we still work with them. So the arts piece is one aspect of it. We continue capacity building in other aspect. Volunteering itself and kind of enriching and enhancing the volunteering culture in the country and the community has been quite successful. FIFA Arab Cup was quite a big tournament for us. We saw 5,000 volunteers taking part with us. For the World Cup, we're looking at over 20,000 volunteers that are going to be participating and helping and being part of this team that will be delivering the tournament. So it's heart-pleasing, to be honest. We've worked a lot with the community, and we see it. We see the results, and we see the community members working with us hand in hand to deliver a tournament of this size.
I think the volunteer aspect is important to mention. Obviously, in the UK, London held the Olympic Games in 2012, and the volunteers, as they called them, the games makers, were one of the real memorable aspects of that mega sporting event, and hopefully be the same for you guys for the World Cup in just a few weeks' time. What about the fan journey? How have you sort of strategized for that? You know, the fan who comes over to Qatar, they're going to spend some time there, they're going to see a few games. What can they expect in terms of that experience? Give us a bit of a whistle-stop tour.
Well, we've always promised to be working and will be delivering an amazing tournament. So part of this is delivering and offering the fans an amazing experience, yeah? So the fan journey, we kind of started with the fans kind of doing some of the admin stuff in the beginning in terms of getting a ticket, securing accommodation before coming to Qatar, and applying for the Hayya card, which is the fan ID. That will be that's used for this tournament. This Hayya card is used as the entry permit to the country, is used as your ID whenever you're here, you are in Qatar. The card is also used to give you, and this is actually a first, so to give you free transportation, free public transportation throughout your time in Doha. So starting with the kind of different accommodation options, we've kind of put out to fans a big range of accommodation options, a range of also of affordable options. So you have, of course, you have the hotels and the traditional apartments. You also have villas, but we've also introduced cruise ships that are going to be offered as accommodation options to fans, fan villages, in terms of kind of camps by the sea and the desert. We also kind of offered a more affordable options when it comes to kind of caravans and etc. So a variety of options. But then after that, you book your accommodation, you come to Qatar, of course, and everyone kind of will be coming most probably to come and enjoy the game. But then this is football, this is 90 minutes, as you said, David. What about after that? The rest of the day, what people are gonna do? We've paid a lot of attention to this. We've lined up more than 90 events and exhibitions and attractions for fans during their time in Doha. You can imagine 4 games a day, all within stadiums, within reach, so fans can go to multiple games a day. But then for the people who will kind of attend one game and then want to explore and see the country, we have many options. But I can kind of make reference to the main attractions. We're going to be a new concept in the name of FIFA Fan Festival that's going to be in central Doha, and also with our kind of central Corniche stripe. So 6 kilometers of attractions and fun.
Okay. Yeah, I think you have this unique aspect in this World Cup of the sheer proximity of the stadia. And you know, I don't remember another World Cup where you could go to one game and then go to another game the same day. So that is an advantage, I'm sure. Yes, so the fans do want to experience the destination, as you've described there. They've got some options. But the main focus is the games. What about the stadiums, the sporting infrastructure, and how much is that sort of a catalyst for development drive in Qatar?
As I mentioned, David, so we've set ourselves on this path. Just around the time even before that, so like if we go back in time, we can see that Qatar started kind of hosting tournaments of an international kind, starting back in the 90s, and then that continued. And then in 2006, we hosted the Asian Games, and for us, this was the biggest sporting event we did host in the country. This event in itself was the seed for that bigger ambition, for this dream to come later, which came as the FIFA World Cup. So when it comes to sporting infrastructure, Qatar has developed quite an extensive infrastructure to serve this tournament. When we won the bid back in 2010, we had to put in a number of projects. We had to expand our roads network. We had to develop the metro and the rail network. The public transportation in terms of buses, etc., has to be developed to a scale that will be able to serve the World Cup. So all of that has been in place, and we're just waiting for the world to come to Qatar by the end of the year.
Okay, so far so cheery. You know that I'm going to have to ask you some difficult questions
Please,
here.
go ahead.
But listen, I think that this is part of this open forum. You know, it's right for me to hold you to account, but it's also right for me to give you that ability to answer these questions as you so desire. You mentioned all the infrastructure that has been put in place. Well, there's obviously been a lot of focus on that, and real genuine, not just concern, for some people outrage. Khalid, what is your view on the current situation as regards workers' rights in Qatar?
Listen, David, we've been quite open and honest with this specific file since the beginning. We did accept that we do have a lot of areas of development to be done, starting back in 2010. Now we look at the situation back 2010 and today. We have to say that there has been a lot of improvements that happened in that front. We've used the World Cup in a very positive way as a catalyst to drive this change. Accepting you have an area of development is something, and then really taking the actions and moving towards an improved situation is another thing. And usually countries don't really change over the course of a year or two. But for us, the World Cup has been quite helpful in that regard, in pushing us and serving as a catalyst to implement a lot of those legislative reforms and changes and improvements in the system. And to be honest, this is not something that we only worked on because we have the tournament. This is a commitment that we took on ourselves that will continue to improve for beyond the World Cup.
Do you understand, though, and do you appreciate why there are people who still feel very, very concerned about the situation, to the point that they may not want to travel to the World Cup? There are teams, there are manufacturers, kit manufacturers, who are starting to make statements. I mean, even just in the last 24 hours, Denmark's kit manufacturer, Hummel, they've decided they want to have a toned-down logo on the Denmark shirt because they say they don't want to be so visible in connection with the World Cup in Qatar because of the human rights record of the country. How do you deal with that?
Correct. The message has been the same since the beginning, David. I mean, we did realize that we have areas of improvement to work on. We did work on those areas and improved. And this is not only me and us saying this, is kind of in recognition. This has been recognized by a lot of IGOs, international organizing committees, and etc. The tournament did serve us quite well. We are continuing to work and to improve on those areas of development. Again, we've been open about this. We've welcomed everyone to be part of this tournament, to come to Qatar to enjoy football, and really, I mean, like, this is for us. This is a belief in the game itself, in the power of the game. This is why we embarked on this journey. So again, this tournament is going to be played with 32 teams, including us, the host nation, and we do welcome everyone to come and compete and may the best team win this tournament.
Is it frustrating from your perspective, Khalid, that these statements keep coming out? There are people who continue to bang the drum on this narrative? You know, you're approaching 50 days to go. You want this to be positive momentum. How difficult is that for you? Is it frustrating?
I guess, David, like with 50 days to go now, you're really focused on delivering the tournament. For a long time, we've been dealing with the criticism, with the discussions, with the controversy around those topics. But today, I mean, it really comes to the fact that we're delivering this tournament. This tournament is happening. We just need, and this is a golden opportunity for us, to show the world what is Qatar, what is it that we're offering.
Do you think there's an unfair perspective on what Qatar is? Do you think that people are just viewing it wrong? Or they're just, you know, mud sticks? So you hear something, you think, oh, well, it must be like that. Do you think it's an unfair perception?
I think there is a lot of views around Qatar, but I believe that in order for people to believe what is the truth on the ground, they need to be there. They need to be there. They need to see. They need to see it. They need to experience. They need to feel it themselves in order to believe it. Otherwise, I mean, like the narratives has been out there. We've been countering that narrative for a long time. Yet the discussion is still out there. But I guess now this is the point where we're faced with the reality, or we're faced with the moment of truth, as you would like to call it. And for me, really, and for us, really, like this World Cup is giving us a golden opportunity to work on a lot of those perceptions, on a lot of those kind of narratives, and offer the people the right and true kind of image of Qatar.
I'm also interested in the sustainability piece. This is I've mentioned it a few times, haven't I, guys? This is an area of real passion for me, particularly in climate action and sustainability. As you mentioned, it's one of the first that you're claiming, that this will be the first carbon neutral World Cup. I have to say, that sounds very ambitious. If I was an emoji, I would be the one with a kind of raised eyebrow, or maybe a one that looks like this, because I'm not sure I believe it. Convince me.
Well, I can. Let's do a simple exercise. Yeah, let's look at this tournament and look at where the majority of the carbon emissions come from. Yeah, so the biggest source is basically transportation. And you look at this tournament, basically the compact nature of this tournament basically means there are no domestic flights in Qatar. And then you look at the main mode of transportation for the fans when they come to Qatar in here is going to be the rail, the metro network, and also more than 800 buses of electrical buses. So this is.
But they've still got to get to Qatar. And they can't do that with that metro system. They can't do that with those buses. They've got to fly in.
They've got to fly. Exactly.
That's part of your Scope 3 emissions. You know, you're responsible for that too, and that's a lot of air miles.
100%. Well, and I'll get to that as well, because we just want to be honest, and we just.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain how this tournament is going to be carbon neutral. So, if we look at the transportation, and then you look at all the infrastructure that's been built in a sustainable way. In the lifespan of the stadiums in a couple of years, those are going to offset the carbon emissions that was kind of generated part of the construction work. And then last piece is the number and the over 1 million square meters of grass and greenery that has been developed in terms of training pitches, stadiums, and recreation facilities around this tournament. Now, we go to the other part, which is the unavoidable carbon emission, which, whether we like it or not, there's a number of emissions that are going to happen, being the fact that people will have to fly to Qatar, being the fact that there are still cars operations around Qatar. For that, our counter narrative, or our solution to it, comes in the form of carbon credits. So we're planning to offset that with carbon credits. We're buying this carbon credits from internationally recognized and respected credit sources, and the details and the plan of that, we're still planning to go out in a huge announcement with all the details of how and where those credits will be. So you will know about this in due course.
Well, no, but I mean, yes. and that's interesting, and I wonder whether that's been informed by something which emerged in the last couple of months. I'm sure you're aware of this. Carbon Market Watch, let's say they were not particularly kind towards you about how they feel you've assessed your own footprint for this tournament. And this is what they said. The calculations used to make the event appear to be carbon neutral ignore some major sources of emissions, and the credits currently being purchased to offset them, as you've just described, have a low level of environmental integrity, meaning they are unlikely to benefit the climate. Presumably you can test that then. You can test that element of, they say, no environmental or low level of environmental integrity. You say, no, we've done that right. We've gone to the right bodies. We've done it the right way. But what's your response to that quote there?
Well, I'm like, my response to this is quite simple. I mean, like the details of the carbon credit kind of that we're purchasing to offset our calculations of the carbon emissions are going to be announced quite shortly. So
okay.
I'm sure when the announcement goes, and then when we announce where did we buy those carbon credits from, it's going to be quite obvious and quite eminent that we've done the right calculation.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll watch that with interest. I mean, or just create a massive Qatar rainforest and try and offset that way. Okay. Let's move on to a couple of other topics here. Inclusivity and diversity. I mean, you mentioned before, you want to welcome the whole world to Qatar. I'll ask you quite directly, what is the experience going to be like for a gay football fan who wants to attend the tournament in Qatar?
All right. So again, we go back to the same original message that when we won the right to host this tournament, we've committed to welcoming the world to Qatar. So everyone is welcome to Qatar, regardless of their nationality, race, gender, religion, sexual orientation. Everyone is welcome to Qatar. Yet, and we do believe in another pillar of this kind of human engagement, which is kind of mutual respect. Yeah. So we, as Qatari, we come from quite a conservative society. Yeah. So we welcome everyone to Qatar. Yet at the same time, the same way we do expect people when they come to Qatar to respect our culture, to respect the way that this country conduct itself. So
things to do with, for example, I don't know, public displays of affection, which is just not something you do in your culture, but maybe is more a feature of generally Western culture. It's just to say, hey, look, we're in a different place. We have to understand that this is not done here, but we have to have the respect to kind of just, appreciate that a little bit more. Would that be about right?
This is exactly the message. Okay. This is exactly the way that we're planning to conduct this World Cup. David, we've hosted international tournaments before. We've been doing that for a long time. Just recently, we did the FIFA Arab Cup with 16 teams in November of last year. We've done 2 FIFA Club World Cups before, so we've welcomed international fans from 5 different continents. A couple of times to Doha. We've done on the other kind of sports front. We've done international events. So we're used to international fans coming to Qatar, enjoying themselves, having fun in Doha. So like, to be honest, it's not really a concern for us, the organizer. It's just a message, just a discussion, a question that people kind of throw out quite a lot recently.
Yeah, I guess the whole idea of the building bridges has to be a mutual thing, right? I mean, it's not just we appreciate where you all come from. It's more like, guys, learn about our country. Yeah. You mentioned having fun. For a lot of people, for some people, for a bunch of people, that means drinking alcohol.
Yes.
And in some parts of the world, drinking alcohol and football tend to go hand in hand. How will that be handled during the World Cup?
Again, this is another part where I can perhaps start with, we've done international tournaments, so we've done international tournaments before, so we've welcomed international fans before, fans from Europe, fans from South America, fans from Africa, Asia. They've come to Qatar, they've enjoyed football, they've had their alcohol. Alcohol is available in Qatar today. Alcohol is going to be available in the World Cup. One of the main sponsors of FIFA is Budweiser. it's our obligation to serve Budweiser products in Doha during the tournament as part of their commercial rights. So I don't really think that the concern is really kind of reflected in a way where it reflects the reality on the ground. Again, this is one of the topics that we think that this tournament will allow us the chance to show.
Yeah.
That fans can come to Qatar. Whoever wants to drink alcohol will be able to drink alcohol. Whoever wants to go and enjoy the sea will be able to enjoy the sea. Whoever is there to watch football. If a family is in Qatar, they will have a lot of things to do. If it's a group of young teens, young adults, if it's a solo traveler, we're catering to everyone, and everyone is welcome to Qatar.
Okay. Look, these tournaments, you've seen, you know, down the years, it's not always the most amazing. Look, they're all incredible celebrations and festivals of football, but sometimes, you know, there is violence, there are, you know, bits of disorder, public disorder. Of course, safety and security has to be absolutely paramount. What measures are in place to make sure that things do pass off safely?
We need to realize that Qatar is one of the safest. Qatar is perhaps the safest country in the world, according to I forgot the name of the index, but in January of 2020, Qatar was ranked the safest country in the world. And regardless, Qatar is always ranked on the top third and the top three safest countries in the world. So Qatar is safe in itself. Now, with a global tournament like this, with a number of fans coming from around the world, there has been a lot of preparation and a lot of efforts put in place to ensure that everyone is safe. So we've worked with international policing departments and institutes. We work with kind of the regional security bodies as well. Our security staff, and we call them the SSOC, so the security committee of the anyways, this is security committee that's working on the World Cup, has been established for some time. The personnel has been well trained, and they've gone on different sporting events as attachment, as observers. So there was a lot of knowledge that's been absorbed by this security committee. Now, with the collaboration and with the help of the invested kind of international policing bodies in this tournament, we think this tournament is going to be, again, one of the safest tournaments in the history of the World Cup.
Yeah, do you know what? There was a similar concern ahead of the 2010 World Cup, the first one in the African continent, in South Africa. And they deployed huge numbers of police officers. And, you know, my experience of that tournament was that it was very, very safe. We're talking about a huge country here in South Africa. You've got much less ground you need to patrol here. So it sounds like you've got the measures in place that you will manage that situation accordingly. I guess also just it's not so much about safety and security. It's about, you know, we talked about before, building the bridges and the balancing of the cultures. How much is this also about appreciation of the Qatar culture, not just Qatar accepting and receiving the Western world at large? And how do you ensure that it is a blend of cultures rather than a clash of cultures?
The simple fact, David, that this tournament is going to be played in a compact space means that all the fans are going to be in the same city, I would say. Usually in the group stages where we have fans coming from all around the world, usually fans are kind of spread around different cities. This is the first time we're going to see all the fans celebrating, all the fans kind of enjoying and expressing themselves together. So this is going to be quite a social experiment that I'm guessing many people would love to study, and we will be studying ourselves as well. But the appreciation and the display of the cultural diversity in Qatar, as we touched on upon earlier, has always been a pillar of our cultural offering, to be honest. Now, when we look at, I can take you to a certain example, like whenever we're working on providing those cultural experiences and entertainment, let's say, for fans on their way to the stadium, we ensure that we do display the Qatari culture, we do display the Arabic culture, we do inject the experience with international elements, but then also we reserve place of showing and sharing the culture of the participating teams. So let's say if Germany is playing Spain in one of the games in around the stadium, and there will be some cultural offering, Spanish cultural offering, as well as German cultural offering. So this is when it comes to what is it that we're offering. But at the same time, we're providing, honestly, a global platform for fans to come, to enjoy themselves, to express themselves. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of examples of fans that you didn't see celebrating together before. Perhaps you will see them celebrating together in Doha. And this is the case. This is going to be the case throughout the tournament.
Khalid, I mentioned before that you come into this tournament, you've been dealing with that criticism, trying to keep your dignity as well, and just eyes on the prize. Let's deliver this tournament. Let's let the football do the talking, I guess you could say. But what about the sort of after effects, right? In terms of you want to do a discrimination-free World Cup, you want to genuinely change perceptions as a result of hosting this tournament, the way it's portrayed in the media, the fan experience. How much genuine hope do you have that you will achieve that? Do you feel that afterwards there will still be, it takes a long time to get people to flip their mindset, but do you believe that this can happen, not overnight, but it can have a significant shift as a result of hosting? Do you genuinely believe that?
100%. And David, this is the beauty of football. The power of this game is quite immense. We do believe in sports being the catalyst of change. We do believe in football as being a power that unites people and allow people to connect on the kind of the basic human level and values. With this belief in hand, we applied to host the World Cup in 2010. Now we were lucky enough to win this bid, and now 50 days before the tournament, we see this kind of coming as a reality. I guess the long story short is that we do really believe that this World Cup is our chance to change a lot of perceptions. This World Cup is our chance to show the right image of Qatar, of the country, and it's not only Qatar and the country; it's the whole region, being the Gulf region and the Middle East as well.
When you look back at this tournament, say in 10 years' time, say we're 2032, what will the legacy be? How would you like people to remember this first ever Winter World Cup, first ever World Cup in Qatar, first ever World Cup in the Middle East? Look into the crystal ball for me. What does it look like?
I think it's going to be people will remember this tournament as it being different.
Okay.
Again, we already said that it's going to be the World Cup of a lot of firsts, but again, it's going to be different in terms of the quality of football we will see. Having a World Cup in the winter time means that you're allowing the players to compete on their top form, not at the end
rather than at the end of the long season. Sure.
So in terms of football and the beauty we're going to see on the pitch, this is going to be something magnificent. So people will remember a lot of fantastic games played on Qatar fields. In terms of the fan experience and the human experience, I think fans will really love it. I mean, when they come to Qatar, it's going to be fantastic games, the state-of-the-art stadiums, but yet you leave the stadium and you have an ongoing festival for a whole month. So you come, you will enjoy. It's for many people, this is the first time they come to the Middle East. They will find city, sea, and desert as well. So there are a lot of things to experience, a lot of people to mix with. It's going to be a cultural melting pot. So I think people are going to look back at this World Cup and say that this was a good one.
It was one that was different to its expectations, to maybe what they came in with. They left, feeling something different, something positive. So basically what you're saying, that emoji that I was before, right, which was either that one or that one, turns into the one with the stars in the eyes instead.
Or the hearts, or the hearts.
Or the hearts, or the little hearts around. Cool. Well, look, I'm open-minded. I wish you all the best. I think, it will be absolutely fascinating to see how it pans out. And, we're all football fans here. We hope you're right for sure that we do see some magical moments on the field of play, right from the first game against Ecuador until the final. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Khalid Touaidi.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much indeed. Please head back and take your seat.